Newcastle United are on fire. After smashing 2 past Crystal Palace, Eddie Howe's men made a statement. So from the captain's masterclass, to the Miley evolution, to the Colossus Chow, we'll also reveal the details behind Newcastle's exciting transfer budget, as well as uncover the deal said to be 100% done by Sky Sports. As per, join us as we'll break the transfer news down and discuss the 5 things we learned from Newcastle United, 2 Crystal Palace 0.
Let's go!
So the first thing we learned was the relieving clean sheet. A 2-0 home win was exactly what the side needed to secure back-to-back victories and potentially spark a longer unbeaten run. But the most significant takeaway was finally ending the long wait for a clean sheet. Achieving it on the 13th attempt could prove pivotal as the season moves into its second half. United had failed to keep a single clean sheet with Aaron Ramsdale in goal, and that trend initially continued when Nick Pope returned against Burnley, a match in which the team conceded far too many chances. Against Crystal Palace, however, there was a clear defensive shift, with the back 5 restricting Palace to just 0.7 expected goals and only 1 shot on target, which Pope saved, a stark contrast that underlined the improvement in structure and concentration. That defensive solidity was embodied by Fabian Schär, who marked his 250 appearance for the club with a composed and authoritative display. He earned a 7.9 rating, contributing 11 defensive actions that included 1 successful tackle, 10 clearances, 4 recoveries, 3 ground duels contested with 1-1, and 6 aerial duels contested with 5-1. He committed no fouls, was dribbled past only once, and still found the capacity to influence play with 1 key pass and 1 accurate cross. On the ball, Schär completed 53 of his 63 passes at an 84% success rate, hit 7 accurate long balls from 15 attempts, and registered 80 touches, highlighting how his role extended beyond pure defending into helping control territory and tempo. Alongside him, Malick Thiaw delivered a truly outstanding all-round performance, dominating his duel with Mateta and capping it with the vital second goal. His 9.6 rating reflected a display that combined defensive authority with decisive attacking contribution. Thiaw scored once from an expected goals value of 0.46 and led the match with 17 defensive contributions. He completed 5 tackles, 3 of them successful, which was the joint highest tally of any player in the game, added 10 clearances and 2 blocked shots, and was flawless in direct contests with 5 ground duels, 1 from 5, and 3 aerial duels, 1 from 5. His reading of danger was evident in 2 last-man tackles, while his discipline stood out with 0 fouls committed and not being dribbled past at all. In possession, he completed 46 of 54 passes at 85%, including 16 of 20 in the opposition half and 30 of 34 in his own half, underlining both his composure and his value in progression. After the match, Thiaw spoke warmly about the pre-match war flags display, saying he really loved it and that this sense of unity was what had always defined Newcastle United, something he admired even before signing, and something he now feels strongly within the current squad. But Lewis Miley's imperious performance added another layer to the team's control, particularly impressive given his deployment as a makeshift fullback. Barely putting a foot wrong, he looked completely at ease on the right and produced a statistical outlier of a display. Miley completed all 59 of his passes against Crystal Palace, recording a 100% completion rate, the best of any player in a Premier League match this season, and the second best by a Newcastle player on Opta record since the 2003-04 season, behind only Cheick Tiote's 66 from 66 against Arsenal in 2016 in the month of January. His influence was evident all over the pitch, not only through distribution but also through his improved ability to dribble out of tight spaces. It's no wonder he had the most successful dribbles of any player in the match. He showed real determination to hook the ball back for the opening goal and defended with discipline throughout to help preserve the clean sheet. His 8.6 rating was supported by 1 assist from a 0.74 expected assists value, 7 defensive contributions, 3 tackles attempted with 1-1, 1 interception, 3 clearances, 3 recoveries, and an outstanding 10 ground duels contested with 8-1. He also competed in 3 aerial duels, winning 1, committed no fouls, was not dribbled past, created 1 big chance, played 1 key pass, attempted 5 crosses, and was perfect in possession with 59 out of 59 accurate passes. That included 33 out of 33 in the opposition half and 2 out of 2 accurate long balls, while his overall involvement was reflected in having the second most touches of any player on the pitch, Lewis Hall, by contrast, endured a more uneven outing, particularly in the first half where he lost possession 16 times, possibly a consequence of not being fully fit after twisting his ankle at Burnley. Even so, he still produced a solid overall contribution before being withdrawn after an hour, creating the most chances of any Newcastle player and third of any player on the pitch. Hall recorded a 7.2 rating, generated 0.40 expected assists, and made 6 defensive contributions, including 1 tackle attempt, 2 interceptions, 2 clearances, 1 blocked shot, and 2 recoveries. He contested 6 ground duels, winning 2, and 3 aerial duels, winning 1, while committing 2 fouls and not being dribbled past. Offensively, he created 1 big chance, played 2 key passes, and attempted 6 crosses with 1 finding its target. His passing was reliable, completing 41 of 48 passes at 85%, with 17 of 20 in the opposition half and 24 of 28 in his own half, along with 3 accurate long balls from 4 attempts. He finished with 84 touches, and while his performance wasn't at its peak, the overall defensive cohesion suggests that, with more players returning to fitness, this is a platform the unit at the back can continue to build on. But the Brazilians were the ones who truly dominated proceedings, with the captain taking matters into his own hands. Bruno Guimarães once again showed why he is the heartbeat of this side, producing a performance defined by authority, intelligence, and decisive impact. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, and his knack for scoring important goals continues to develop, this strike in front of the Gallowgate standing out as another vital contribution. His timing of runs into the box has noticeably improved this season, and he is now being rewarded with crucial goals, a trend that has seen him emerge as the team's top scorer. Guimarães finished the match with a 7.9 rating, scoring 1 goal from a 0.26 expected goals value, while also posting a 0.25 expected assists figure. He created 1 big chance, played 1 key pass, attempted 3 crosses, and completed 47 of his 58 passes for an 81% success rate. His influence higher up the pitch was clear, with 27 of 37 accurate passes in the opposition half, alongside perfect accuracy on his long balls with 2 from 2 completed. He registered 1 total shot, which was on target, recorded a 0.88 expected goals on target value, and even struck the woodwork once. With 90 touches, he had more involvement on the ball than any other player on the pitch, underlining just how central he was to everything Newcastle did. Defensively, his contribution was equally significant, with 9 defensive actions including 2 tackles both won, 3 interceptions, 1 clearance, 5 recoveries, 12 ground duels contested with 6 won, and 2 aerial duels contested and won. Notably, he committed no fouls, a testament to his discipline and control in midfield. Alongside him, Joelinton delivered a physically imposing display that felt like a welcome return to form. He looked stronger, sharper, and far more assured in possession, showing signs that the confidence missing earlier in the season is beginning to return. Joelinton earned a 7.2 rating, completing 42 of his 50 passes for an 84% accuracy, with 17 of 21 completed in the opposition half and 25 of 29 in his own half. He added a long ball to his passing mix, took 69 touches, and completed both of his attempted dribbles. He also had a goal ruled out for offside, a finish that he executed superbly and which further reflected his growing sharpness. Defensively, he was a monster, contributing 7 defensive actions that included 1 tackle attempt, 5 clearances, 1 blocked shot, and an impressive 10 recoveries. He contested 4 ground duels and won 3, dominated aerially with 9 duels contested and 5 won, committed just 1 foul, and crucially was not dribbled past at all, reinforcing his value as a powerful midfield enforcer. Sadly, within the same midfield unit, Tonali's performance was more mixed. While he did make some crucial defensive recoveries in the first half and showed signs of being more physically at it, his overall output remains below the standard expected, particularly in possession. He finished with 4 defensive contributions, including 1 interception, 2 clearances, 1 blocked shot, and 5 recoveries. He was heavily involved in duels, contesting 11 ground duels and winning 4, while also engaging in 1 aerial duel which he did not win, and he committed 1 foul. However, his struggles on the ball were evident, offering no key passes and giving the ball away cheaply on several occasions. losing possession 13 times and recording just a 67% passing accuracy in the opposition, half highlighted ongoing issues in his distribution and decision-making.
What happened to you, Dylan? You used to be somebody I could trust.
As things stand, his position could be under threat for the upcoming game against Leeds, and he looks like a player who could benefit from a rest to reset and regain sharpness. Big credit has to go to Harvey Barnes, particularly in contrast to Anthony Gordon's afternoon. Gordon started the game brightly and was arguably the best player on the pitch in the opening 15 minutes, but his influence gradually faded as the match went on. He made several poor decisions, went down too easily at times, and overall looked just off it, a dip in form that has become noticeable recently. That drop-off was thrown into sharp focus by the impact Barnes made when he was introduced. It was Barnes's incisive key pass that sparked the move, leading to Miley's assist for Bruno Guimarães' goal, a moment that underlined his quality and clarity in the final third. Barnes finished with a 7.4 rating, and despite playing only 27 minutes, his attacking output was remarkably efficient. In less than a third of the minutes Gordon played, Barnes registered more expected goals, more expected assists, more key passes, more crosses, and more shots, a comparison that speaks volumes about his sharpness and effectiveness off the bench. That leads into a broader and more uncomfortable truth. Yes, Sandro Tonali's standard has dipped slightly. Yes, Jacob Murphy gave the ball away 20 times during the match. Yes, Lewis Hall lost possession 16 times. Yes, Joe Willock's late miss was an all-timer, the kind of sitter that leaves everyone stunned by how it didn't end up in the net. Yes, a couple of Johan Wissa's runs were poorly timed, with him repeatedly straying offside even when the ball never reached him. All of these elements clearly need improvement, and there is no argument against that. But the real truth is that this team is starting to become 3 points united. Think back to the Burnley game for a moment. The details of the performance are already fading, and that says a lot. We were poor in that match, but the only thing that truly sticks is that we walked away with 3 points. That is the headline, and ultimately it doesn't matter how they were earned. There were complaints at the time that we should have scored more against Burnley, and that the performance wasn't convincing enough, but context matters. In Burnley's last 12 games, no team scored more than 3 goals against them, and even Arsenal managed only 2. Perspective like that helps reset expectations and refocus attention on what actually matters, which is winning games and collecting points. At the time of recording, the table reinforces that point. The team sits just 5 points off 4th place, a position that would have seemed unrealistic not long ago given the circumstances. That bigger picture matters, and it should temper the urge to be overly critical of individual mistakes or imperfect performances when the results are starting to come. There also needs to be recognition for Eddie Howe. With the sheer volume of injuries the squad has endured, his adaptability deserves praise. Mikel Arteta has rightly been credited for converting players and for positional shifts such as moving Saka from left back to right wing earlier in his development. But Howe's decision to deploy Miley at right back deserves similar acclaim. Few would have predicted just how naturally and effectively Miley would perform there, and that speaks volumes about Howe's ability as a developer of talent and a manager who trusts young players in demanding situations. That said, even the best coaching cannot control form or physical availability indefinitely. Howe needs options, and that is why he requires backing, even in January. Depth matters, especially when injuries mount, and providing the manager with the tools to rotate and refresh the squad could be the difference between merely grinding out results and sustaining this push up the table. With that said, in a massive development, Newcastle United's Saudi-backed owners, the Public Investment Fund, are reportedly preparing to underwrite a potentially transformative period of spending across the next 2 transfer windows, with several targets already being considered ahead of January. After a prolonged spell of financial caution that has restricted winter business in recent years, sources now suggest Public Investment Fund are willing to approve spending of up to £100 million this month. The focus would primarily be on easing the squad's injury problems, particularly at full-back and in central defence. Eddie Howe has made it clear that Newcastle will continue to operate intelligently in the market, favouring value and opportunity rather than headline-grabbing signings. While the club's financial position has improved, profit and sustainability rules remain a factor in shaping their strategy. One player being closely monitored is AZ Alkmaar's highly rated 19-year-old midfielder Kees Smit, who is viewed as a long-term investment capable of adding youth and energy to the squad. Sources have described Smith as a player to keep an eye on heading into 2026, with Newcastle aware of competition but encouraged by his upside. Defensive reinforcements are also high on the agenda, with Manchester City defender among those under consideration. The four-time Premier League winner is admired for his experience and versatility, and it is understood that Newcastle have recently made fresh contact regarding the possibility of a loan move. His ability to operate across the entire back line is seen as a major asset at St James's Park. Al Hilal midfielder Ruben Neves remains on Newcastle's radar, aided in part by the public investment fund's existing connections, although sources indicate any move would need to represent exceptional value. At 28 years old, Neves does not fully align with Newcastle's preference for younger profiles aimed at reducing the squad's average age, despite his desire to return to the Premier League ahead of the 2026 World Cup. According to TalkSport, while January business may be limited to a small number of relatively low-profile additions, the real anticipation is building for the summer window. Newcastle's profit and sustainability position has improved significantly, helped by the £125 million sale of Alexander Isak last year. Insiders believe this has opened the door to Newcastle's most ambitious spending spree yet, with more than £200 million potentially available to reshape the squad without the need for further major sales. Crucially, the roughly £100 million earmarked for January would roll over into the summer budget if it is not fully used this month. In effect, Newcastle could be prepared to spend close to £300 million across the next two windows. While currently sitting in mid-table, Howe's side remain firmly focused on pushing back into European contention, all while maintaining a long-term vision of sustainable growth. By targeting emerging talents such as Smith alongside experienced options, Newcastle are signaling their intent to build a younger, more dynamic squad capable of competing with the Premier League's elite in the seasons ahead. But in terms of outgoings, speculation continues to grow in Germany over the future of Newcastle United striker William Osula, with Eintracht Frankfurt once again pushing hard for his signature. The Bundesliga club attempted to sign the 22-year-old during the closing stages of the summer transfer window. Osula even paused training with Denmark's international setup on deadline day as talks progressed, but the deal ultimately collapsed at the final hurdle, leaving him on Tyneside. That failed move initially worked in Newcastle's favour. Shortly afterwards, Johan Wissa suffered a knee injury while on international duty with DR Congo, delaying his Newcastle debut until December. During that spell, Osula provided cover and remained an important squad option. However, Osula's own season took a setback in November. A persistent ankle problem, one that had troubled him for much of the campaign, flared up and ruled him out just hours before Newcastle's Champions League clash with Athletic Club. He has not featured since and is now set to miss the upcoming meeting with Leeds United. However, now in a recent report, according to Sky Sport Germany reporter Florian Plettenberg, Eintracht Frankfurt remain determined to land Osula and are actively negotiating with Newcastle. The German side are searching for a third striker following long-term injuries to Jonathan Burkhardt, who is expected to be sidelined until late February, and Michy Batshuayi, who is not due back until the end of March. Posting on X, Plettenberg stated, Eintracht Frankfurt are looking for a third striker and still want to sign William Osula. Reason is the long-term injuries to Burkhardt and Batshuayi. Negotiations with Newcastle are ongoing. Verbal agreement with Osula is 100% done. Aston Villa were also linked with Osula last summer, but their interest was blocked by UEFA financial regulations. Having already sold Jacob Ramsey to Newcastle, any deal sending Osula the other way would have been classified as a swap, limiting Villa's ability to record the funds from the Ramsey sale. Once fit, Osula is expected to remain third-choice striker at St James's Park. That scenario could restrict his opportunities, making a move away appealing as he looks to regain momentum and continue his development. Despite this, Newcastle remain highly protective of the former Sheffield United forward. The club are reluctant to sanction a permanent exit unless their valuation is met, and would likely insist on a buyback clause to retain long-term control should Osula fulfill his potential. As things stand, Frankfurt's interest is concrete, the player is keen, and talks are ongoing, making this a situation worth watching closely as the window progresses. If he was to leave an injury to either Nick Woltemade or Johan Wissa, would once again leave Newcastle United dangerously short in attack. So letting William Osula leave only really makes sense if the club already have a contingency plan in place. and according to Graham Bailey, Wolves are now willing to sell Jorgen Strand Larsen during the January transfer window, and sources suggest Newcastle could land the striker at a reduced price just 6 months after having multiple bids turned down. During the summer, Wolves rejected more than one offer from Newcastle, with the Magpies pushing close to the £60 million mark as they scrambled to strengthen their forward line amid fears over Alexander Isak's future. In the end, Newcastle moved on to alternative options, signing Nick Woltemade and Yoane Wissa, who had spent much of his career operating from wide areas, after failing to prize Larsen away from Molineux. Wolves' stance has since softened. With Tolu Arokodare and Hwang Hee-chan already at the club, and relegation now a very real concern, they are more open to cashing in on their Norwegian striker. There is also an understanding that player values would drop significantly if Wolves were to go down. TalkSport report that Wolves are no longer seeking anything close to the figures Newcastle offered last summer. Instead, a fee below £50 million is expected, with the valuation thought to be closer to £40 million. That would still represent an excellent piece of business for Wolves, who paid just over £20 million for Larsen following a successful loan spell last year. Bailey adds that Nottingham Forest have made inquiries, though they are far from alone. Tottenham, Crystal Palace, Everton and Fulham have all been briefed on Larsen's availability, while West Ham, who previously showed interest, have now moved on to other targets. Newcastle remain admirers of Larsen and have been made aware of the situation, especially with Osula edging towards a potential exit. However, despite offered the player, with Wissa now fit again and Woltemade available, it feels unlikely the Magpies will act unless circumstances change. Plus, other areas of the squad appear to be higher priorities, like the left-back position, though the risk of being left exposed up front means the door may not be completely closed if Osula departs and the right opportunity presents itself. Then, if you would like to know Newcastle's secret transfer targets this window, click the video link on screen now.